Hello folks, you're listening to episode 14 of your favourite sports betting podcast, A Mug's Game, with your hosts, Smeg and Ronnie.
Ronnie is here today. We're going to look into some anti-post betting for the upcoming, well, it's just started actually, the football season that's ahead of us. The Premier League is 1 weekend old. The Championship is 2 weekends old. So we have what we consider maybe a small advantage, having seen the first weekend or two and having all the transfers done and dusted, that we might find some value bets to keep us interested between now and May.
Brilliant stuff, Ronnie. And first of all, I have to say welcome back. Obviously, Ronnie has been away for a long time, and I know a lot of our big fans have missed the man a lot. Obviously, Ronnie's recently become a father, and I think that what's happened really is that he's taken his fatherhood duty so seriously that he's completely given up sports betting up until now. Isn't that right, Ronnie?
That's it, yeah.
Right, so anyway, we're just going to crack straight into it. So we're talking about the Premier League first of all, and there's a certain market you usually think of the top four market, and it's not one that we're really going to focus on much, because really there's not much value to be had there. You're thinking that it's going to be probably a two-horse race between Liverpool and City. Obviously, maybe Tottenham will be a little bit closer to them this year because they definitely have strengthened their squad, but City are the big favourites. Whether Liverpool can push them or not, it remains to be seen. It's more than likely it's just going to be all about the journey for Liverpool, really. So as usual with Klopp, so it's not really a market that's going to interest us that much. Have you got anything to say about it yourself, Ronnie?
When you look at the weekend just gone, it was like a continuation of last season actually. The players that scored, the players that played well, and the actual scorelines. I suppose you can say there's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. For example, maybe United were a bit of value for top four at 6-4 a week ago. They win the weekend 4-0. It was never a 4-0 game. The Chelsea could have been 2-0 up at half time, and now United are actually odds on for it for the top four, which is a poor enough bet in my opinion at the moment. So you can get those knee-jerk reactions to the first games, but like you said, City and Liverpool are the best two teams. Liverpool got 97 points last season. To get that again, I'm not so sure, whereas you could probably say City could get 98 points again. Rodri's a great sign for them. I think it's a perfect position as well from filling in for Fernandinho, and he's just going to prove to be a brilliant player for the season. Liverpool Klopp, he stayed with the squad they had really. Now they have a couple of guys back from injury, maybe like Chamberlain and Lallana and that, but I thought they might have signed somebody else, maybe another striker, but they didn't. But anyway, yeah, City, Liverpool, Spurs, and then you've got a fight between Arsenal and United, maybe Chelsea for that fourth spot, but it's certainly not a bet. Not a bet for me. It's going to be very tight really for that fourth spot, so I'm going to ignore that from a betting point of view.
Well, I quite fancy Arsenal myself there, but I just couldn't be even at evens. I just can't be loving that. Like, you never know, like, because obviously I don't really fancy that Chelsea team, even though actually for long periods of that Man United match they were the better side, but where are the goals going to come from? Tammy Abraham up front and Giroud, even having Barkley as your main playmaker, I think they're going to struggle. Not to say that Lampard hasn't got potential as a manager, but just don't see where the goals are coming from. But in any case, so leaving the top four conversation aside. Leaving the top four conversation aside, apologies for that. We are going to focus on the race outside the top six. Okay, so because there's a lot of very evenly matched teams there. Have you got any bets regarding that, Ronnie, or any tips regarding that?
Yeah, well,
that market?
The top, we mentioned the top six there, really, but I suppose it's looking outside of that, and there's a market with powers for betting without the top six, so without those six teams you mentioned, and the way they narrow it down. The way the betting works out is that it's fancied that Leicester will be 7th, Wolves 8th, Everton 9th, and West Ham 10th, or mix somewhere like that. Leicester, Wolves, Everton, West Ham in that order. So basically, now you could put other teams into it that could come into the reckoning, Southampton, Watford, and so on. But I don't think so. I think it is four teams looking for a kind of 4-team table of Everton, Leicester, Wolves and West Ham to come 7th basically, like, you know, or maybe even break into that top 6. But there's I suppose if you look at those 4 teams the weekend just gone, Wolves and Leicester drew, so they've got a point each. Everton drew as well, so they have a point. Now West Ham were hammered at home to City 5-0, and I see that their market has changed because they're now 9-1 in that market. They would have been 6-1 only a few days ago, so they've gone out to 9s, and I don't really think a beating at home to Man City should change that as much as it has. You know, City are going to do that to almost, you know, to most teams. So I think you know,
it was always going to happen, wasn't it?
I rarely back any games involving West Ham because I've never really trusted them over the years. But I looking at their squad at the moment, it looks quite decent. Haller, who signed from Hoffenheim, Germany, 15 goals in the Bundesliga last year. You know, Lanzini's back fit. I think he's a really good player. They also signed a Fornals from Valencia, who's a Spanish under-21 player, highly rated. So they've got players, they've got attacking players that could do damage. And a decent season last year, finished 10th after struggling early on under Pellegrini, finished 10th. So I'm just looking at that market, and with Wolves playing in the Europa League, would Everton possibly flatter and deceive? I don't know if a lot of players are kind of playing a similar position, like, you know, Sigurdsson or Richarlison and Bernard, those type of players. I'm not so sure they'll score enough to warrant to be that much stronger favourites than West Ham to finish 7th. Leicester have obviously lost Maguire, even though they're a good side, and I can see why they have a good chance of coming 7th, but I don't think they're any strong. They're certainly not stronger than they were last season. So I just think West Ham are a bet at the price they are after the weekend, post that reaction to the first weekend. So I'm going to have 1 point on West Ham without the top 6 at 9-1.
Yeah, that's a fair enough bet to me. Yeah. Certainly I think maybe Leicester could be the biggest threats there, but Everton, I'm not convinced by them, especially even Wobie's a good player, but Jesus, is he going to be the guy that's going to turn you into a top 6 challenging team? I don't think so, you know. So, but in any case, that's the first bet there. 1 point on West Ham be to finish without the top 6 at 9-1. So let's just move on to the relegation battle. Okay, obviously we have the 3 promoted sides: Villa, Sheffield United, and Norwich.
Yeah.
Out of all those sides there, do you think are Villa going to be the next Wolves or?
No, I don't think so. No, not at all. I think they'll probably be somewhere between what Wolves were last year and what Fulham were as regards the money. If you remember this time a year ago, we were speaking of Fulham, the money they threw around and it didn't work. Now Villa have spent the money earlier than Fulham, as in Fulham were kind of chasing that near the end of the deadline. Villa had a good bit of business done during the summer, but they've a lot of unknowns. They've spent a huge amount of money. Their net spend is over 100. It's between 130 140 million. It's way ahead of everybody. So it's an incredible amount of money, and we just don't know enough about the players they got. I think I'd fancy them to struggle, but I'd like to see what will happen. I have one bet on the relegation. I think Norwich overachieved last year. If you look at the stats in last season, Norwich got a great number of points, 94 in the Championship, but I have to look at the expected goals stats, which show really what maybe should have happened rather than what happened. So the XG market, basically the way it works is that every chance that's created is there's a number put on the percentage that should be scored based on how far from the goal it is or the angle it is and so on. So it showed that Norwich did overachieve last year. They reckon they actually scored 20 goals more than they actually should have. So there's an element.
So explain that stat to me now.
So it's the expected goals. So did you see it on the? They have it on the Sky for Premier League games. Expected goals in a game where, you know, a team say the score was 1-1, but one team missed. If you miss an absolute sitter,
yeah,
but it's counted then as a goal. But because it was missed, obviously it's not counted as a result. But if you look at the stats, they're saying it should have scored it. So there's a certain amount of. It's based on chances created, and whether they're finished or not is the other thing.
Could that not be a reflection on how clinical Norwich have been at finishing? Like Pukki obviously scored 29 goals or something like that.
30 goals. Yeah, it comes with that.
But obviously the issue with them is defence.
Also, they got a lot of goals outside the box, like 30 yards.
Well,
that's type of thing, which isn't a chance which you're not going to get.
Yeah,
get again.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
But Norwich, you saw them Friday night again. They're going to lose Liverpool anyway, but the way they play is the way you saw them play is the way they play. They're very, very open. The manager Farke, the German, he said they're going to play like that all season. Now you could lose those games and still stay up. We beat the teams around you, but I just think they didn't buy anyone at all. They're same squad as they had last season. There no real Premier League experience amongst any of them, and I think over the course of the season that'll catch them out. You mentioned Pukki is their only real striker. He had a great season last season. He did score the other day. Before that, he was a flop at Celtic, and turned into a bit of a journeyman. But he had a good season and he did score the other day. But I just think Norwich they're the weakest team. I think they're going to concede a lot of goals, and that's why I'm having 3 points on Norwich to be relegated at 11-10.
Yeah, but you're not thinking like maybe Delia Smith now? She comes in every now and then for the dressing room for a bit of a let's be having you. That could inspire them to sneak. But look, they look like such a mess defensively. They're going to be fun to watch though. Like they do play.
They create chances because Liverpool.
They did.
They will create chances.
But for any team, you nearly want a team to be more like a Burnley. I think Sheffield United seem a little bit more solid defensively. For example, they'll struggle. Yeah. They're going to be in that fight. But with Norwich giving away goals the way they were. Yeah, it's hard to see them stay up. Okay, so that's 3 points at 11-10. So it's odds against, which also makes it a more appealing bet.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Well, considering you're saying that Norwich are the most likely to get relegated, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what's the manager's name again? If I can think. Yeah. Oh yeah, that he's the favourite to be sacked, because obviously he's going to have a lot of goodwill behind him.
He hasn't spent any money, and the fact that he came in last season, they got 30. Well, he's done 2 seasons now, but they got 34 points more last season than the season before. So the improvement they made in a season is just unbelievable. So I'd say he's okay. There are managers that are he's one of the managers that I'd say are okay as regards the sack race market. If you look at the market, Roy Hodgson is the favourite, probably justifiably so. He's there now. Those couple of seasons, they don't look like they had a poor time at Sellers Park last year where they didn't score many goals. They started off the season with a 0-0.
Where did they finish in the season though?
Last season, well, they finished fine. I think they finished on 13-14.
Because it might feel like he has done a good job.
They had a good finish to the season. Yeah, they had a good finish to the season, which and he has done a good job, because when he took over this time 2 years ago, remember they'd won in 7. They'd lost 7 games.
Who was it? De Boer was the manager, and he
lost 7 games, but. I don't know. There's, I don't know how will they score enough really, apart from Zaha, like Benteke's up front. I just think I can see why he's favourite. I'm not going to back him at 7-2. Hodgson and Bruce are the two shortest price favourites, and that's there's no mystery to why that is. There's two bigger price ones I'm having at the bet on though. We just going back to mention Villa. Now, anyone would think that Dean Smith at Villa his job is as safe as houses after coming in last October that it was, left Brentford. He's actually a Villa man, and they went on a great run after Christmas and won the playoffs, and you think he's going to be fine after the season. But the fact he's been given so much money to spend, Villa obviously see themselves as wanting to not
top
just
half
stay
side,
up.
not to be in a relegation.
That type of thing. If you spend, as I said, 140 million net spend is just an incredible amount. 12 new players, and he hasn't managed the Premier League before, and highly rated as he is, it doesn't really matter. I'd say Villa if they're prepared to spend this on players, what are they prepared to spend on maybe a higher profile manager or something like that? I'm gonna back Dean Smith as one of my 2 men to leave their post next. That's the market, what it's called. The other man I mentioned a bit already, but with Everton, again, aside, I've spent a lot of money. Now they got money back on Idrissa Gueye went to PSG, and Lookman went to Germany, but I think Idrissa Gueye is an unbelievable loss in midfield. Now they replaced him with Delph, and they've got, as I said, you've got some bodies in, like you mentioned there, in attacking sense with Iwobi. But I think, and Moise Keane from Juventus could be a great signing, potentially. But, the last couple of days, transfer market were making bids for Chris Smalling and Marcus Rowe, and they're just throwing bids for these defenders. They don't have much. They don't have many numbers back in defence. They only have, I think, only 3 centre halves: Michael Keane and Yerry Mina and maybe Holgate. I just think that there's rumblings last year of Goodison Park as well. Don't know, Silva, he kind of he divides opinion about him. You're not really sure, is he, what is he really good, or is he, he's been in jobs for short stints at Hull and Watford as well.
Half a year, half a season for Watford,
There's a fiery element to him, and Everton have showed they're not afraid to. I just think Everton are a bit like, are expecting to be challenged in that 6th position. So if they're, in 2 months' time they're maybe mid-table or below that, Silva could pay the price for it. So I just think at 16-1, both those managers, I'm going to have a half point on Dean Smith and a half point on Marco Silva, both at 16s, to be the first manager gone.
Yeah, I suppose they're not the ones that I picked out, but it's just with the reason you give there. Like, it has to be, I have to say, it's fairly convincing.
It just comes back to what the clubs expect more than
a good absolutely day. Absolutely. Well, there you go. If we just talk about that for a second, about what the clubs expect. Now, I tipped this up last year, and was Grazia for Watford. I think it was about 8-1.
You
maybe,
did,
8-1 to be
he was
first
closer
sacked.
to be manager of the year than
just shows how much I know about football. But having said that, in fairness, he, the key thing, and I mentioned it in the podcast at the time, the key thing was that, if they get a bad start, we've seen how trigger happy that Watford club are. Watford now see themselves as a comfortable mid-table side. Do you know what I mean? They expect to be in top 12 at least. And at the weekend, at home, losing 3-0 to Brighton, that's a very, very bad start. Another few of those type of results, we've seen how trigger happy that Watford are in the past. Silva only lasted a year. What's his name? Was he Croatian or Serbian?
Jukanovic a few years ago. Sacked Flores and Mazzari as well. They're only seasons or half seasons.
And they didn't have a very good finish the last season as well, obviously, and they got thumped by City in the FA Cup. Fair enough. We won't read too much into that. But if they are struggling at all, which that the omen of the 3-0 home defeat to Brighton doesn't look good for them. If they're struggling at all, at 11-1, I think they could easily be. They haven't strengthened their side that much. Obviously, Sarr, but really they haven't strengthened that much. No. I like the 11-1 on him to be sacked at 1 point. I'd stake 1 point in that. And another fella I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry to say it, Ronnie is a United fan, but I can't help but think that there's a bit of an overreaction to Ole. The United result, he was I think about 5 or 6-1. He's gone up to 10-1 with Sky Bet to be the first manager sacked. Now my thinking about this is, it sort of reminds me a bit of when Rodgers was at Liverpool a few years ago, had a great start and challenged when he had Suarez, he challenged for a season, and then in the second season, towards the end of it, they were fucking losing. They were like losing to shite sides, like basically like 4-0, 5-0, just really bad losses. Really, like it looked at the end of last year that he had lost the dressing room. Now, the other thing about Ole is that he, like, when things weren't going well for him, he looked like in every press conference like he was about to cry. He sort of reminds you of that sort of teacher in the class. You can just imagine, like, who'd lost the classroom and he's going, lads, come on, please listen up, please listen, please, and there's an element of I feel that he doesn't handle the bad times as well as he as the good times. He did seem to be in panic mode a little bit. I'm not convinced by obviously Maguire's a good signing, but I'm not convinced by that midfield. Pogba actually, he played fairly well the last day, but I don't know. I just think they're maybe it's a bit different now because the expectations are different. Like after Jose last year challenging for the the title coming second. Obviously, he was a good bit away from City. Maybe all United are looking for is a top 4 finish.
Yeah, well, it is, to be honest. Yeah, I think the big. I don't think he'd be. I don't think he'd certainly gone this side of Christmas. I think there's a feel good factor with him, with the fans, and with I think the players there do like him. I think the biggest problem.
How can you explain how pathetic they were in the last 2 months of last season? Like that is like, we've seen Wenger lose titles or whatever, but he's always seemed to have the players inside. They've managed to finish strongly or whatever. It's never like that. Last year was a real train going off the tracks kind of job, you know, and it really looked poor, and it just after one result where Chelsea were the better team for 60 minutes of the game. And it was Chelsea mistakes really. Obviously one of the goals is a fantastic pass by Pogba, I don't know.
The big test will come for United is when they don't go 1-0 up or they go 1-0 down, because the way they don't play now is playing on the break. Yeah. So front. So it remains to be seen. Like the biggest problem for United is they didn't sign a midfielder. They needed at least one additional midfielder. Midfield is you know, so threadbare. Like, so it's a massive issue. That's why I wouldn't be tipping them or backing them for top 4. But
yeah, look, you know, I don't know. I suppose I've nearly talked myself out of it. I was just thinking 10-1.
It was 5-1 the other day, so going out to 10-1, there's certainly too much of a reaction, like, you know. But
maybe. But one last point I was going to make is that if you're looking for a really big value price on that, maybe I'll just I'll withhold the 1 point stake on Ole for now. I'll just see if they win it, get another few decent results, but don't seem to be playing well, and they've got a bad run of fixtures ahead of them. Maybe the price might improve. But look, I know he's come in and he's done brilliantly with Leicester since he's come in. Is Brendan Rodgers, but he's 33-1 to be the first person to get the sack. Out of all, like, if you look at the managers around him, like the Pochettino is 25-1 to get the sack. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Sean Dyche, 33-1. We know, like, they struggled for a long time. They were favourites to be bottom of the table at Christmas last year. Yeah. But like, you know, he'll always have Bernie's back, and so we're talking about the management. Then there's Pep and Jurgen. They're never going to get the sack. So he's one of the last people to be expected to get the sack. However, sure didn't. How can I? No, they won the title with Ranieri, right? Yeah. Fucking 6 months later, you know, they're sacking the man, right? It's just like they're. We talk about Watford being trigger happy. Yeah. Leicester must be the most trigger happy team in the league. Yeah. You know, the trigger happy board in the league. Yeah. Like Cloud Poole didn't do badly with Leicester at all. Like, their expectations are very big. They're expecting to be top 6. They're expecting to be challenged for top 6. They haven't improved their team that much. They've lost Maguire. Yeah. We've seen in the past with Rodgers, when things are going great, it's all fantastic. He's doing, you know, big cocky head in them and all that, like in his interviews. But like when you know, we've seen it, the train go off the tracks with him before with Liverpool, where and when he loses it, he completely loses it. Yeah. And just a bad run of results for Leicester, which isn't out of the equation. They play good football, but you know, they're a passing team. They might have scenarios where they can't break teams down like they couldn't really against Wolves at the weekend. Bad run of results, and he could be under pressure. So I think a half point on Brendan Rodgers. Look, obviously there's no doubt they could continue on like they did from last season. There was no pressure on last season anyway they could continue on the same vein as last season. But if there is a bad run of results, we know that that board have no problem letting pulling the trigger. So 33-1 strikes me as value.
So you're on a half point of Rodgers at 33s
and 1 point in Grazia.
At
11s, Sky Bet. Okay, so we've talked about the sack race. Now, what about the top goal scorer? We got some top goal scorer markets, and we'll talk about maybe the assists market as well. But what are your thoughts on the top goal scorer market?
First of all, I suppose top goal scorer, there's two things to be looking for. Number one, that he plays. He's absolutely guaranteed to play. Sorry, three things. Number one, he's guaranteed to play. I'd say number two, he's playing with a top 6 team, and third of all, takes penalties, especially with VAR. The introduction of VAR now means, or should mean, or more penalties probably awarded, because before VAR, what happened was that, you know, the benefit often went with the defender if it was minimal contact or whatever. But we have seen in the World Cup last year where there were 29 penalties, which is 12, 13 more than normal. Even the Women's World Cup this year had 26 penalties in 48 games, more than half the games with penalties in them. Again, VAR has a lot got to do with that. Same in the Champions League last season. So because of that, I think he has to be a penalty taker as well. So those things for me, I'm going to keep very simple. I just can't. I just can't see past. You can't predict injuries and so on. But Harry Kane's twice won it, the Golden Boot. Another season he finished second. The only reason last year he was fourth. I think he was fourth or fifth. Was because he actually missed 10 games.
Yeah,
season. He still 7 goals. So he has had these ankle injuries running for games, but he ticks the boxes of what I just said before that. He got 2 the other day in the first day already, and I'm having 2 points on Kane at 7-2. That's with Sky Bet and it's with Hills as well. So I'm 2 points on Harry Kane at 7-2.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he's 16-1 actually to Player of the Year, and if he is top goal scorer, if that is a market, that might. That might represent even more value for you, but obviously there's far more competition. You got midfield players like De Bruyne and all, and even if Sterling doesn't get, you'd have to imagine maybe the Player of the Year would be a City player, but it's not really a market I found any value in. But the top goal scorer market there for Kane. There's one goal scorer market that I really liked, and it's with Betfair. Now the price has been taken down, but if it comes up again, was Martial to be 14-1 to be the top United goal scorer. That's just behind Rashford at 64 and Pogba at 94. Now it can't be Pogba now, like Rashford's taking the penalties, it seems.
Yeah.
But Martial was kind of playing through the middle the last day, and it's not like
if that price was linear, that'd be ridiculous. Yeah, because he's playing through the middle. Yeah, and he will play as well. If he stays fit, yeah, he should be. He needs to. He should be. He certainly should be just close enough second to Rashford.
It feels like he's going to be playing a lot more this year under Ole than he was under
definitely
Jose. Yeah. So if you can find that price, that's maybe one of the bets of the season, really, because that's just for the value. But what about the assists market? Now this is one that certainly interests me. Have you got any bets there, or will I crack on with what I think it is, or?
No, just at the man. I know that if you go on last season, the top assist player last season was Hazard, who had 15 assists. He's now gone, so you can rule him out. And the second highest assist maker last year was Ryan Fraser at Bournemouth, who had 14, just one behind Hazard. So I would say he's probably unlikely to reach those numbers again, so it kind of brings others into play, I would say.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So the ones that I was thinking of where I was looking at the market there. Now, Nicolas Pepe, obviously we don't know how he's going to react to the you have the market up there. We don't know how he's going to react to the Premier League, but by all accounts, he's an unbelievable talent. Last year, over 20 goals with Lille, but he had 12 assists, which I think outside of Hazard and Fraser would have been enough to win the total number of assists in the Premier League. Obviously, the Premier League is obviously a way tougher league than the French league, but when you consider the players that he has around him, like Aubameyang, absolutely lethal finisher. Lacazette, great finisher. He's playing in a very, he's going to be playing in a very good attacking side. 25-1 to be have the most assists. Man of his talents. He's 12 assists from last season. He's going to be passing to lads who are fairly clinical. He's going to be coming in off the wing. I think. Obviously there are maybe City players and Liverpool players that are in with a massive chance, but at 25-1, considering how attacking.
I don't think it's will he start quick enough? Obviously he's going to play because he's a 70 million signing. You're not going to have him, but how soon is he going to? He didn't play the weekend. I know he needs to. For that he does need to start games pretty soon. Do you know what I mean? Because lads get a head start on him. But 25 is definitely.
But in the long term, surely you're going to see him starting ahead of Mkhitaryan. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good price. And another price I like there. Now, obviously, De Bruyne is 3-1. We know he's an assist machine and so on. He's going to be taking corners and free kicks. We don't know if he's going to be staying fit. We always know that every season he seems to have some sort of injury problems. And also, he plays quite deep. He's playing quite deep in that City team, which doesn't, for a man who plays as deep as he does, he still gets a lot of assists. But I don't like the 3-1 there. Eriksen obviously gets a steady number of assists every season, but I think and Pogba's 10-1, Trent is 8-1 obviously, but out of all those I think I don't even like Salah at 14s, because we know how greedy the man is. Obviously he got a lot of assists last season, but he is fairly greedy overall, but he'll be there or thereabouts. But Raheem Sterling at 12-1 as well is one that I like. The man is in the form of his life. He's a good man to finish, far better finisher than he was a few years ago, but considering how many goals City are going to create, I think he's going to create and score.
Well, there's a couple of things there. I think 12-1 on him is very good, because another reason Sané is out now for months.
Yeah.
So any bit of rotation there at all is kind of gone. He will play. I'd say he's actually the first choice forward now of all their forwards. And even the other day, you saw that link-up play with Jesus. The goal was ruled out by VAR narrowly. He was just narrowest of margins offside. That would have been an assist for Sterling. I think 12-1 is a good bet there. Yeah,
fair enough there. Okay, so another market there. So we're going to go a point on Pepe for most assists, 25-1, and 1 point. This is Smeg's tips, football tips, which are obviously top class tips. At 1 point in Sterling, 12-1, and 1 point in Pepe at 25-1. We're not really going to focus on the Player of the Year market, because there's so many class players there that really, it could be any of them really. It could be Sterling, it could be Salah, it could be De Bruyne. There's so many players. It could be Kane. This. So this really, it's a bit of a lottery really. But regarding the Young Player of the Year market, it's a much more interesting market for a lot of reasons. For example, you got Trent Alexander-Arnold there as favourite at 7-1. Then you got Sané as the second favourite, and sure, look, he's going to miss a lot of the season. You got Rashford there at 10s, Jesus at 12s, but is he going to be the top striker as the fourth favourite for the Young Player of the Year? Surely Aguero is still going to be the main man, for the most of the season. Pulisic 14s, Wan-Bissaka 16s with Bet365. That's a decent price. And then Ndombele is at 16-1 with William Hill. Is there anything that sticks out to you there?
Well, I don't have a bet on him, but I will say, if you look back over the years, the Young Player of the Year, I suppose it's media orientated. It can be very almost biased to the English players. If you look back at the last few years, Sterling had it last year. Dele Alli had it for 2 years in 16 and 17. Harry Kane in 15. Go back, Kyle Walker 12, Jack Wilshere 11, even James Milner in 10, Ashley Young in 09. So you can see a pattern there. 8 of the last 11 are actually English players. So you'd be looking at sticking to that trend.
So if we are sticking to that trend, we know that Trent Alexander-Arnold
sticking to that Trent.
Oh, jeez, pardon the pun. We know that Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to be, he's a class player, class right back. He's going to, he's going to be solid. I think people say he's brilliant attacking, but defensively he can be a bit dodgy. I think he's improving defensively, and I think he can only get better. He's obviously one that's very appealing at 7-1. What do you think about Rashford yourself?
Yeah, well, at 10s is okay. I'd say with most bookies, actually, powers he's 7, which is a bit short, but it does help him this season if he's taking penalties like he was the other day to tot up the goal column, and he fits the criteria. He's going to play. He's English. At 10, I'm not quite sure on how they can trust the team enough, really, more than him. It might be a bit more value in Wan-Bissaka at 16s, really, as a new right back there. But no, I'm not having a punt on it. No, I'd agree with you. Your bet on Alexander-Arnold is solid enough, and look, I think 16s is probably 16s is a good bet on it in Ndombele at Spurs. He was scored a great goal to start the season. Brilliant for Lyon against City in the Champions League last season. I think he's absolutely guaranteed to play. He's a powerful man. Can that's.
So what age is Rodri for City? Because I thought I saw him in the market there, and now I can't find him.
He's a bit older. He's mid-20s. I'd say it's Rodri. I think it's so 24, 25,
24, 25. Yeah. So look, out of that bunch, we know that Liverpool are going to be a top side again this season. You know, I think City will probably win the league by a bit more, but I think Liverpool will still be challenging for most of the season. And with Trent Alexander-Arnold at 7, just considering that if you go outside in Ndombele and I think you can rule out Sané. You can rule. I just don't think Rashford is a good enough player to win the Young Player of the Year. I'm not convinced that United are going to have a good season. Yeah. So there's reasons not to be back in that. Aguero's going to be the main man. You'd imagine Pulisic in the team that he's in. I don't think they're going to have enough. They're going to do well enough. Wan-Bissaka could have a good season, but once again, are United going to be good enough for him to warrant that? And is he solid enough defensively? Maybe not. So then after that, you're just looking at the likes of Maddison, 20s. Like, it doesn't really go to players like that. Tielemans, Martial is 22. He's around a while considering how young he is. I just think the two very obvious candidates there are Alexander-Arnold. We know he's going to we know he's going to be solid. We know he's going to get a lot of assists. He's going to be in a championship side, a side that are competing for the championship. 7-1, I like that. I'm going to go point in that. And then Ndombele, 16-1 with William Hill. That sounds like value. He looks like a quality player. Great goal this season. He's going to be also in a top side in Spurs. Yeah. They are the two ones that stand out way above the others, and at two decent prices. So a point each, Trent and Ndombele. Very good. At 7th and 16th respectively. So we're going to leave the Premier League there for now. I think we have all our main bets there, and obviously you're a big football fan. You're a big fan of the Championship, and you always take a keen interest in it every year. So I'm going to ask you about your what bets, what markets, and what bets have stood out to you.
Okay, in the Championship, Championship, brilliant league, full of goals, full of action, and I have a few anti-post bets done. There's 2 matches down, and I've got a little bit of value because of that as well. First of all, in the promotion market, I've got a good bet. I've got 3 points on Fulham to be promoted at 2-1. 2-1 bet 365. A couple of reasons for it. Fulham, Scott Parker is in charge, took over the last few games last season. They have most of the players that got them promoted so well a little over a year ago. They've added in Knockaert from Brighton, who's a really good Championship player. They've added in Cavallero from Wolves. They play on either side of Mitrovic. They've also Bobby Reid signed from Cardiff as their sub-striker, and then they've kind of got solid midfielders for that level with Tom Kearney and Harry Arter and Johansson. They're just a good Championship squad. I think that I think they'll win the league, to be honest. So I'm just doomed to be promoted. I'm happy enough to do them to be promoted at 2-1, which gives me, I suppose, 3 chances at it. I think, they could win the playoffs, could come second.
And are you at all concerned by just the morale of being so poorly relegated? What would the morale be?
And the players stayed there, and it seemed that maybe Scott Parker seemed to he actually had a win or two at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's right.
Had a new deal. Mitrovic is massive, and to have a big striker at that level, I think they're. I think they can come straight back up, to be honest, and maybe make up for the mistakes they made then this time last year. Do you mean with throwing out money?
And just the fact that you think the Parker is going to be highly motivated.
Yeah, I think the Championship is a little bit weaker this year. It's not as strong. A couple of reasons. Now, obviously, you've got a big club like Villa gone out of it and that, but you have say even Derby are a bit weaker without Mason Mount and Harry Wilson gone back to clubs. You have West Brom. I know they've signed Charlie Austin now. They lost Dwight Gale and Rodriguez. These were some of the best teams last season. I think Middlesbrough, Notts Forest are very average. So it's a lot of clubs that I don't think they have a whole lot to actually beat this year. And
2-1, like it's to actually, first of all, they finish top 2, they're straight in it, and then they've also got all they need to do is top 6 to get into
to have a chance,
and obviously it's never easy in the playoffs, but at least you'll have a run for your money, and
exactly.
maybe you can cover an opportunity. Although I don't like to be covering 2-1 shots. Seems like a good bet to me. 3
points in front of more than 2-1. On the opposite market of that, for relegation, I have a couple of value bets. Both these teams have points in the board, that's why there's a bit of value on them now. I have a point on Birmingham to be relegated at 5-1. Birmingham are kind of in free fall. They've got a mess with ownership, mess with money. They had 9 points deducted last season, but they actually still stayed up. Gary Monk was sacked at the end of the season. I don't know what they sold. Che Adams, their best striker, to Southampton. They lost Jota to Aston Villa. Their 2 best players basically gone. A couple players brought in are kind of unknown. The manager is Spanish guy, Pep Clotet. He was assistant to Monk. He's now just a manager. He has his record behind him as manager is poor. He was with Oxford a few years ago. He was sacked. They have 4 points on the board. That's why there's a bit of value. They won 1 and drew 1 of the first 2 games. But again, that happens. The first couple of games of the season, strange things can happen. I think Birmingham getting relegated 5-1 is a bet. And also, and similar to that, is Wigan. Again, another ex-Premier League team recently. They're 4-1 to get relegated. They've diced with it for the last couple of years. They've just about stayed up in the last 2 seasons. The key to it is that Nick Powell, who you might remember with United a few years ago, he's their best player for the last few seasons. He's gone to Stoke, and they don't look like they've really replaced him to me. He was the key to them really for the last couple of seasons. So I think they'll struggle big time, and that's why I think the 4-1 is decent on them. So I'm having a point of Birmingham relegated 5-1. I'm having a point on Wigan to be relegated at a point on Wigan to be relegated 4-1, and a point of Birmingham to be relegated at 5-1, and 3 points on Fulham to be promoted at 2-1.
Yeah, all sound like fairly well reasoned bets there. What about the goal scorer market?
The tops. That's the last market I've looked at in the championship. Top scorer market. I've got 2 players. One will be more of a value bet, and then one is the second favourite in the market. Actually, Mitrovic is the favourite, justifiably so. He's a bit short, he's 5-1, 6-1. I'm going with the second favourite here. This guy, Carlin Grant for Huddersfield. So he's young, he's only 21. He joined Huddersfield at the end of January in the Premier League from Charlton, where he'd scored I think 14 goals halfway through the season. Joined Huddersfield at the end of January and actually scored 4 goals for Huddersfield between February and May in the Premier League.
Premier League, yeah.
And they didn't score much more than that as it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he's a big guy. Looking at he started the season on fire as well. He's got 2 goals in his first 2 games, and he's guaranteed to play. Guaranteed to go up front, and I think 10-1 to him is fair. I think he'll hit 20 goals at least, and then you're looking to more than that to be top scorer, obviously. But when you have someone who you think will hit 20 for sure, and Huddersfield will be one of the top 7-8 teams, you would say. So I'm happy to have Carolyn Grant top scorer at 10-1. And the other guy actually is a longer shot, is Brentford, who will be a mid-table side. They had 2 good strikers in the last couple of seasons, scored a lot of goals. Neil Maupay, a French guy who's just gone to Brighton for 20 million.
Yeah.
And Ollie Watkins is his strike partner for the last couple of seasons. Now Maupay would, like last season, would hit 23 goals. Watkins would hit 10. That's the kind of way it worked. The year before, Watkins is younger as well. He's young. I think he's 23, 24, that kind of age group. He got 10 league goals last season. He got 10 the year before. He got a lot more before that in a lower league. But he just progressing nicely. I think he scored a winner the other day at Middlesbrough as well, and I think with the other striker kind of gone, he's gone into an even more central position, and I think the 33-1 on him is just too good to turn down. So I'm going to have half point each way on Ollie Watkins at Brentford at 33-1.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's so you're going with Grant and Watkins. Grant's at 10s with Bet365.
1 point on Grant at 10s, yeah,
and a half point. Way. I'm just looking what Eddie Nicotea, or how do you pronounce it?
He came from Arsenal to Leeds.
Yeah, 20-1. It's a lot of question marks. We really don't know.
To play one up front. Bamford plays as well, like so up front. I just not. I can't trust him to be playing 80-90 minutes of games yet. So there's too many questions.
And even someone like Austin, you can't trust him to be fit, and also he's not going to be the most creative team, and probably suits him, but he's surely not going to be over 20 goals a season.
Yeah. Well, they're the options. You know, a lot of the top scorers actually are on the championship over the years have been big price. Like Pookie was 25-1 last season. Vidra the year before as well. Chris Wood, Gray the year before. Darren Murphy. There's, you know, you've got, you know, guys like Ricky Lambert, Glenn Murray, Danny Graham. These guys, that age group, have got do fit the profile. I've been top scorer in that league. Which will give Charlie Austin a chance for sure, but he's so injury prone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Leave it out. But yeah, they're my bets for championships.
All right, so we've basically covered our football now. We're nearly finished with the podcast here, but obviously we have a big hurling match, hurling final between two old classic rivals, Kilkenny and Tipperary, neighbours and all that. Really an All Ireland final, I think, to look forward to. Obviously some people say, it's the same old lads, same old suspects or whatever involved again after we've had the likes of Limerick and Galway win it. But I'm delighted to see this final myself. You know, first of all, we've had kind of an ageing Tipperary team trying to maybe cement their place as maybe the second best team of our generation by winning 3 All-Ireland medals. A lot of those same lads. And then we got the Cody story, you know, probably with the weakest group of not obviously relatively weak group of players. Amazing performance against Limerick. Cody Story trying to get his maybe how many is he looking for now? What Ireland is this? Is it the 14th or is it that?
He's 40 down together between the replays. He used to win 11 or 12.
Yeah.
It's
so he's obviously the big story for him as well. But we're not really going to be focusing on that. We're just going to be focused on it, see if there's any value bets to be had. And if you think of any bets from that final, obviously it should be a very tight match, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I will. It's very hard to call it tip or narrow favourites. I'd probably say just probably rightly so, but it's just been it's amazing really that, you know, 10 years on from that 09 final with Sheedy and Court, that they're still Cody's still there and Sheedy's come back and he's got that tune out for the year. They've had a great year apart from the hammer in the Munster final to Limerick on the same day. Kilkenny were losing to Wexford by a goal in Croke Park in Leinster finals. They both lost their provincial finals, but they've come back, and you know, Kenny have had 2 great performances against Cork and Limerick. Well, Tip weren't impressive against Laois, but they did enough, and then against Wexford when they went down to 40 men, they were brilliant for that last 10-12 minutes when McGrath was sent off.
Yeah.
So it's very, very even and very, very hard to call. Anyone, but I suppose a couple of bets I like are in the scoring markets. My main bet is actually on the Tipperary subs to score more than 1.5 points. Basically, the Tip subs to score 2 points or more. I think if you look at these days, huge pitch in Croke Park, big days, and managers empty the bench, spaces open up, and it's just the last 10-15 minutes are times where scores are picked off a little bit easier. If you look at the semi-final, Tip and Wexford, Tipperary scored 4 points from their subs, 4 different players even, Mark Keogh, Jared Brown, Jake Morris, they had Willie Connors as well. There were 4 subs who came on.
Yeah, and also they scored Morris scored a goal really, which shouldn't have been disallowed.
That would have been 7 points.
Error,
so it could have been easy 1-4. Now, nothing that happened Sunday, but
Kilkenny are going to bring a lot of intensity as well, and some of those Tipperary forwards, you know, there's bound to be some collateral damage. Some of them are going to not be able to, you know, there's some aging players, 75-minute game. Yeah. So you're going to have maybe 15 minutes at least for lads to get two scores. It's like that seems like such a great bet.
Yeah, and that's, you know, without, you know, it's not going to be a hugely defensive game with sweepers that either. So I think Tipperary, I'm having 3 points on Tipperary subs to score over 1 point.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. And one other thing before I leave that, Smeg, just on the player market, one maybe to look at it, and the Kilkenny players, Owen Murphy, the goalkeeper, to score is odds against, which is fair enough. Well, it's not. It's actually just about odds on, 5-6. And Pádraig Welsh, also centre back, who's a great man for coming up and getting the kind of one of those crowd pleasing points where he makes the run and hits off his left side. I think Pádraig Welsh to score at 11-10 is also worth thinking about.
Did he score against Limerick?
Limerick. He's got a point in the last couple of games. I just think they're worth thinking about. I'm not staking.
Plus, Pádraig was centre back. He'd be marking Bubbles, and Bubbles didn't actually follow back. Bubbles was caught out a few times, not following back, and
yeah. Now there's sometimes the move Pádraig Welsh to mark if there's damage going on the full forward. He's often like he did. He moved back in on Cadigan against Cork. That can happen, but it's just worth.
Would he be the right man to be marking Cananan? I don't think.
I'm not really saying he is, but he's often used as that man if someone's doing damage. He's
fair enough.
But at the moment, I'm going to leave it at the 3 points on the tip subs.
Fair enough.
6.
One. I was just kind of looking at the market there for the RT player of the match, and I'm kind of liking Fennelly at 16-1. Look, he looked very dangerous against Limerick the last day. The Limerick fullback, what's his name again? Casey. Casey, he's a fantastic fullback, and Fennelly probably got the better of him, really, so Fennelly has that goal in him. He's got a few points, he can set up a few scores, he's a great target man. I just think and who will be marking, Seamus Kennedy, or will they bring back one of the martyrs? Or
they'll have like Fennelly's having a great year with the club as well, and just the way they're playing, they play fairly direct, put in him. He's able to win his own ball, break and so on. He's been valued in games for getting goals. Anytime more than the first one, but certainly. So
just know if he scores an important goals and gets a few little other points in that match. He's 16-1. Yeah. I quite like that 16-1. I might just put a half point on that at 16-1 for him to be the player of the match. Obviously, TJ is about 13-2 to be player of the match, and Callan I think is second favourite. Paddy Maher is 14, so it could be one of those ones where, right, either, if you look at who's going to win these battles, maybe they'll cancel each other out, and like who will Paddy Maher be marking TJ maybe. Hard to know, but I just quite like Fennelly. I just have this feeling about Fennelly. He's in such great form. I don't know I think that the Tipperary full back line isn't, like they conceded 3 goals against Wexford. It probably is maybe their relative weakness. So I think Fennelly he'd be my pick anyway for man of the match. So, but look, we'll just look forward to a fantastic battle. We've had 2 amazing All-Ireland semi-finals, and hopefully on Sunday it delivers again. And Tip bring the cup home. All right.
Rarely there, Smeg. I suppose one thing I just want to mention before I know you're off on your travels tomorrow. The US Open starts in 2 weeks' time. Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks, yeah.
So I suppose, do you have anything to say in that, or do you want to leave it to our Twitter followers?
I'll be back on the Monday. It starts, and might be a struggle for me to get a podcast out there. I'll still be tipping up some bets on the Twitter handle while I'm away. I'm going to be in Krakow and Budapest, but when I'm in Budapest I'll be tipping up a few days. I'll just look at some of the markets there just to keep your eye out on. Stevens is 33. No, I've learnt my lesson. There'll be no Muguruza bet no matter what price she is this tournament. So, but Stevens at 33 is beginning to look, because Stevens, we know what she's like. She only really turns up for the slams these days, and you got to the quarterfinal of the French. Didn't do too badly at Wimbledon either. Lost to Conta, but you'd expect Conta to have the beating of Stevens on the grass. So quarterfinals of the US Open last year. She was winner in 2017. She'll have a seeding. I kind of think that 33s is beginning to look backable. We'll see. Hopefully she doesn't do anything in the next few weeks, so I don't think that price will change much. We'll see what the draw is like. Anna Samova at 40s. I think this girl is the real deal out of the big prices. She's 40s, I think, either with boys or powers, I can't remember. That's one to look out for. In the men's, hard to see past Djokovic, Nadal, but Federer hasn't had a great record at the US Open, although in recent years, although he has had a very good year and really should have beaten Novak in the final at Wimbledon. You just gotta have to tip your hat to Novak's mental strength and all that. But if if Team is 33s, if he does nothing in the next couple of weeks, the US Open, he had a massive battle in the quarterfinals last year against Nadal. They lost in the final set tiebreak. He's 33s at the moment with Bet Victor. If there's any time, I might even still back that depending on the draw, but if there's a chance he doesn't land on Novak's side of the draw, if he goes to 33s to the 40s, I'd be definitely tipping. I think he's the best he's the most likely out of all the non-big three players.
Yeah.
And if Kachanov doesn't land in Djokovic's side of the draw, 100 seems a little bit big. I'm not a huge Kachanov fan by any means, but I do think the conditions at the US Open last suit him. He possibly should have bet Nadal as well last year at the US Open. So there just some little prices to look out for, but he still got 125 to 1. I'm already on Vondrousova at 150s and Yastremski at 100s. But look, if I get a podcast out, brilliant. If I don't, just listen out for the Twitter handle. So we'll leave it at that, I think.
That's perfect, Smeg. Good stuff. Look forward to that at that stage. So we hope you enjoy the week's games, the Ireland Sunday. Hope you enjoy Krakow and Budapest, Smeg, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks and we'll have a look at after the draw is done for the group stage of the Champions League, and we'll see what we have. Some anti-post bets for that.
Yeah, and make sure everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Mugs Game Podcast. Our Twitter handle at Mug is at Mug Podcast as well. Make sure you give it a follow, share it with your WhatsApp friends. We're also on iTunes and Spotify now, and you can also get us on Acast too. So there's plenty of places where you can catch us. So make sure you share it with your friends and hopefully you enjoy the podcast. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time to preview. Ronnie will be back in a couple of weeks' time to preview the Champions League group stages. So hopefully we'll have some quality bets for you then. Thanks, folks, and best of luck.